Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contracts. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Prime delivery is fast. How fast are we talking? We're talking puzzle toys and lick pad delivered so fast you can get this puppy under control fast. Pee pads, cooling mat, peg hammer, fast and fast. And those training TREATS, faster than you can say sit fast. Fast, free delivery. It's on Prime.
WABC New York, WRCR Haverstraw, and 107.1 WLIR Hampton Bays.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Good morning, James Flippin filling in for Noam Laden this week. And today it's Thursday, August 28th. You are waking up to mostly clear skies around the tri-state, a low near 59 overnight with calm winds. And here's your 3-day 77 WABC weather forecast. Kick things off. Later today, look for mostly sunny skies, a high near 78 with a light breeze. Tomorrow, we have a 20% chance of rain, mostly sunny with a high near 80. And then Saturday, mostly clear, a low near 59. Sunny on Sunday, topping out near 78. 55 right now in Bergenfield, New Jersey. 57 degrees in Babylon on Long Island. 62 in Midtown Manhattan. And now let's get into our top 5 headlines on this Thursday.
The top 5 at 5.
Well, sadly, the heartbreaking, deadly shooting in Minneapolis, another school shooting, in this case a church school shooting, is the latest reminder we have no answers when it comes to school shootings. We've got audio from the shooter's suicide note video. Amid the tragedy, a story of the heroism involved. A 10-year-old boy named Weston survived, potentially because his friend put his own life on the line while they hid underneath church pews. With President Donald Trump pressing to clean up Washington, D.C. and make it safer, the latest step is the takeover of Union Station. Amtrak's got a new train as well, and Penn Station will get a makeover. With a recent horrific crash in Florida where an Indian immigrant allegedly took an illegal U-turn, the Trump White House is demanding truck drivers actually be able to speak English. We've got the latest on that crackdown. And the president calling for federal racketeering charges against billionaire Democratic donor George Soros. 2 children are dead, 17 more people injured after a gunman opened fire through the windows of a Minneapolis Catholic school yesterday morning. The school shooting happening at Annunciation Catholic School during Mass, celebrating the first week of school. Among the injured, 14 children between the ages of 6 and 15, along with 3 parishioners in their 80s. All of the injured are expected to survive. And the FBI has since identified the shooter as 23-year-old Robin Westman, born Robert Westman. He committed suicide. And the fact that he was trans may or may not have a big aspect of this shooting, but for sure it's something that we're going to talk about. And for sure it's something that's gotten sort of a politicized nature of this shooting already underway. But the shooter's video, it was first sourced online by this content creator that goes by Champagne Joshi. I think Josh Wilkos may be his name. But he found this video where, in essence, this guy, Robin or woman, just put that one out there right at the front. I'm going to screw that up a bunch of times, so just bear with me on that. Westman posted a video kind of walking around their apartment, shooting the floor at times, shooting the large amount of ammo that was there as a cache, a lot of guns. And let's just take a listen to some of this video. I'm going to just put it out there at the front end. It's pretty disturbing. Obviously, any bad language or anything like that, I muted that. I bleeped that. But the whole thing's just dark. You're looking at somebody who, in essence, is in the total throes of mental illness, hatred, depression, twisted mindset, whatever you want to call it. And so this latest school shooter, in his own words here. There's a lot of this.
Swing! Here's my note to my family.
So there's a handwritten note where the guy says, okay, this is to my friends, this is to my family. In essence, there's a lot of discussion of, oh, these are people who helped me kind of even last this long in terms of some of the mental health issues that this person was dealing with, referring to the, support from parents. And there's a lot of stuff that's come out about this guy since this happened, including the fact that his mom worked at the school where this took place. So, of course, it makes you think, well, this was pretty planned out. This was pretty personal. And it just kind of adds to the horrific nature of this crime. So the audio that we have, it's a lot of that, right? This guy that's sort of saying, this is why I'm planning to do this. I don't expect any understanding. I don't expect any apology from anybody, or he doesn't expect anyone to understand his apology, I guess is what he's saying. But in a big way, and in a couple seconds, we'll hear from Joe Nolan about traffic and transit and just kind of take a break from this story, which has been dominating the news headlines. People are talking about it. It's just kind of heartbreaking, this unending reality with school shootings. But when kids are involved, and I can tell you this from somebody who works in the newsroom and just is always involved with news, whenever kids are involved, it's just the worst. It's like a diet or sort of JV version of working in law enforcement because they see things, experience things, cops I'm talking about. Well, we read things. And the kids involved is the one you never shake easily, the loss of innocence. We were all kids once or have kids now. And so this shooter video, it's really just twisted. It's got the guy singing Tomorrow from Annie in menacing fashion, because this was, of course, posted 24 hours before the shooting. He's walking around his apartment. He's mumbling. Spartan living, to be sure. It looks like the guy's basically got guns and ammo and not much else in his apartment. And, showing his suicide letter, apologizing to the family, but then at the same time saying, F those kids. So he basically admits at times he knows what he's doing is wrong, but he refers to being depressed and said this has been in his head for a long time. So we've got more audio from the shooter. We also do have the audio of the survivor, Weston, and the story of heroism that emerged there, and plenty of other stuff to get into this morning as well, including some of the ongoing steps to make Washington, D.C. safer and nicer. WABC News Time, 5:07 on this Thursday morning. WABC News Time, 5:09. James Flippin filling in for Noam Laden this morning. And we will get to our full top 5 headlines, but there's no denying that this horrific school shooting in Minneapolis is dominating the discussion here and will take up a good amount of our time. We've got so much to tell you about it, unfortunately, and in terms of what you're probably curious about and trying to figure out. And also just some uplifting sound, in a way, in terms of when you think of how we all have to try to get through this stuff together. But the video that I was talking about in terms of this shooter having posted stuff to his account the day before, it turns out that the shooter's mom worked at the school where this happened for several years. She retired back in 2021, I think it was. And people figured this out because they celebrated her retirement. Annunciation School celebrated the retirement on Facebook. But there's just a lot of references to weird stuff in this guy's video, hateful stuff, but also fictional stuff.
And vintage warfare promotes love and peace and accepting differences.
Yeah, and some of that little rattling noise you might hear there is actually the guy literally lifting up handfuls of bullets, and they're falling through his fingers like grains of sand. And he's referencing that account, Vintage Warfare. That's a social media account, YouTube, X. And that account more or less said, I have nothing to do with this guy. I'm a Catholic myself. I don't know if he's trying to erroneously link me to this or suggest that I had, just very, very bizarre that he would mention that account in and of itself. But it wasn't just that. Like I said, in this case, an allusion to the Joker from Batman.
I'm the woker, baby. Why so curious? Where's your God now?
Yeah, where's your God now? That's something that he'd written on the bullets or the ammo magazines that he'd written up with these silver pens, white pens on the black magazines, writing all these twisted messages. And look, it's come out now at this point that Robin Westman, or Robert, was transgender, had asked his parents to sign off on the name change back when he was 17. And in essence, identified as, I don't know, queer, gay, whatever it may be. You heard. And this is where, if I could just inject the aspect of the personal stuff that makes it tough for me, as a man who's married to a man, I'm sort of expected to feel a certain type of way about this. But the whole transgender issue is very complicated. And when it comes down to kids being pumped full of drugs and undergoing a weird affirmation from society in general, when they may be believing something that just generally speaking isn't true, that gets very complicated. But Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, I don't know if it's Frey or Fry, but I think he pronounces it Frey. He basically said, oh, no, don't be talking about the transgender thing, which is just a bizarre thing to say when these kids were just shot dead.
And I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community. Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone. We should be operating from a place of love for our kids.
And obviously it's well said in the sense that you'd rather push up the idea of love than hate. But at the same time, I think there's just legitimate questions right now in terms of what's happening with younger Americans, this concept of gender dysphoria, and whether or not it's an issue that ought to be looked at with just compassion, understanding, but also response on one side, as opposed to just, hey, that's great. That's what you're doing. Then we all have to get behind that and totally accept it. And I find the issue hard to really formulate a strong opinion on, because I think in watching that video that I did from the shooter, you almost find yourself thinking, this is demonic. This is someone who was possessed. This is someone who had so much hate and anger and pain and resentment that they don't even know who they're lashing out at. And one of the messages that was written on one of the ammo magazines by the shooter was 6 million is not enough, making reference to the Holocaust. And you had all kinds of anti-Semitic messaging, supposedly in some of his journals that were written. But then he goes and shoots up a Catholic school. So you can't necessarily make heads or tails of what the rationale is behind this particular shooter. And look, maybe there will be more to it in terms of what the cops are going to do. The Minneapolis chief of police was trying to sort of pump the brakes on any aspect of motive during the press conference they held yesterday, saying that we're going to look at the manifesto, we're going to look at the social media stuff, we're going to try to figure this out. But I think it's fair to say there was a decent amount of anger and resentment from the public at large yesterday when some of these law enforcement agencies and also the news organizations were saying, oh, well, we don't really know what the motive is. You have to at least mention what was in these social media videos and what's being discerned from the online journalists who are nowhere near as far behind as the TV journalists, for example. WABC News Time coming up 5:16. Take a pause from this heavy and difficult stuff to talk a little bit about sports with Justin Ellick.
Might as well. James Flippin. Start here in the Bronx. Aaron Judge, it is 41st homer of the year in the third inning. Here's what that sounded like, courtesy of the Yes Network.
Judge hammers that into center field and deep. Young back, looking up, it's gone. Aaron Judge with home run number 41. And the Yankee lead is 3-0.
Yanks bashed again last night. That Judge homer, 1 of 6. McMahon, Bellinger, Grisham, Wells, and Rice also went deep for New York, and the Yanks beat up on the Nationals 11-2 to complete the 3-game sweep of Washington. Yankees ace Max Fried tossed a gem in the Bronx, good for his 14th win of the year, yielding just 1 earned run, 4 hits over 7 innings of work, ringing up 6 Nats along the way. The newly acquired Paul Blackburn came on in relief thereafter, allowing 1 earned run on 2 hits over 2 innings of work. Up next for the Yanks, now just a half game back of Boston for second place in the division and a game and a half up on Seattle for the AL's second wild card. They'll hit the road with Will Warren tabbed to start in tonight's opener of a 4-game weekend set against the White Sox. First pitch from Chicago is scheduled for 7:40 p.m. in Queens. Nolan McLean became the first Mets pitcher to win his first 3 major league starts, tossing 8 magnificent innings in a 6-0 victory over the Phillies that completed a 3-game sweep. Mark Vientos homered and drove in 3 runs as the resurgent Mets move within 4 games of first-place Philadelphia in the NL East. Vientos' 2-run shot capped the scoring for the Mets. Here's what that sounded like, courtesy of SNY.
And Vientos gets a hold of one. Deep left center. Forget that. That is way out of here. Mark Vientos forces a 2-run homer. And it's 6-0 New York. Number 13 for Vientos, his 6th home run in the last 10 games.
He is red hot. Mets improved to 7-2 against the rival Phillies this year, clinching the season series and a potential postseason tiebreaker. The teams play a 4-game series in Philadelphia from September 8th to the 11th. New York holds a 4.5-game lead over Cincinnati for the final NL wild card. The 24-year-old right-hander McLean allowed 4 hits and walked none with 6 strikeouts, throwing 95 pitches, and lowering his ERA to .89. He retired 15 straight batters following Alec Boehm's second-inning single and faced the minimum until Bryce Harper's 2-out single in the 7th. Up next for the Mets, Clay Holmes will get the start in tonight's opener of a 4-game weekend set against the visiting Miami Marlins. First pitch from Queens is scheduled for 7:10 p.m. To tennis at Flushing Meadows, American Jessica Pegula, last year's U.S. Open runner-up, needed just over an hour to get past Anna Blinkova, 6-1, 6-3, advancing to the third round for a 6th consecutive year. In the night session, top-seeded Arina Sabalenka rolled into the third round, easily defeating Polina Kudermetova 7-6, 6-2. Joining Pegula and Sabalenka in advancing to the second round for the women was 10th seed Emma Navarro, who defeated Katie McNally 6-2, 6-1 in an All-American matchup on the grandstand. And tonight, Coco Gauff back in action, the 3 seed on the women's side against Donna Vekic, round 2 there at Arthur Ashe Stadium. That's your sports. James Flippin. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time, 5:21. It's the 5 a.m. news hour on this Thursday, August 28th, and I'm James Flippin, filling in for Noam Layden, who is on vacation. And so this shooting, this school shooting, church school shooting in Minneapolis, dominating the discussion today. One of the messages that was written on this shooter's ammo magazines that he had all these messages written on in white said, "Kill Donald Trump." And almost as a representation of how commonplace that sort of thing is these days, I don't even think I'd mentioned it yet. But when you see some of the Reddit comments connected to this event, and Reddit is a left-leaning website or app, some of the comments are pretty cringe. Like, when you elect a fascist, don't think your kids are safe. And I'm not trying to suggest that a few random creeps online are representative of everyone or everything, but the idea of rhetoric radicalizing people on the left toward violence is not a fake story. We saw surveys this year talking about the percentage of people who find political violence justified. And first of all, anyone who would say that's justified is totally insane and needs to be locked up. But the higher percentage was amongst surveyed Democrats. And in terms of how the transgender issue causes radicalization, not necessarily even in this context, what I'm talking about, violently, but just in terms of the dogmatic acceptance that's demanded. Helen Joyce is an Irish journalist, and she's considered a gender-critical activist, if that's how you say it. Here she talked about how in various organizations, the issue of transgender becomes personal because so-and-so knows a family member or a friend or a person in the company who is or has someone of that nature connected to them. And it makes the issue especially sticky, difficult, not just controversial, but almost like you can't even touch it.
This is the worst social contagion that we'll ever have experienced. A lot of people have done the worst thing that you could do, which is to harm their children irrevocably because of it. Those people will have to believe that they did the right thing for the rest of their lives, for their own sanity and for their own self-respect. So they'll still be fighting. And each one of those people destroys entire organizations and entire friendship groups. Like, I've lost count of the number of times that somebody has said to me of a specific organization that has got turned upside down on this. Oh, the deputy director has a trans child, or, oh, the journalist on that paper who does special investigations has a trans child, or whatever. The entire organization gets paralyzed by that one person. And it may not even be widely known at the organization that they have a trans child, but it will come out. Like, people will have sort of said it quietly, and now you can't talk truth in front of that person, and you can't. Because what you're saying is, you as a parent have done a truly, human rights abuse level of awful thing to your child that cannot be fixed.
And that's Helen Joyce, an Irish journalist who has covered the transgender issue a lot. And I think in terms of what she's saying, I don't want to put words in her mouth. I'm adding my own analysis to it, I guess. Children are the key. I've been fairly consistent in my thinking and feeling that when adults make the decision for themselves to transition or undergo surgery or whatever, that's different. But when it's children who by their own nature are unsure of themselves, still figuring things out, and then you get into the question of consent, and you talk about people who are undergoing puberty and experiencing their own hormone changes, and you're pumping them full of hormones. Thankfully, to switch the discussion up a little bit, the injured are expected to be okay, although we do know, of course, there were 2 people who were killed in this shooting yesterday. But definitely not necessarily mentally are they going to be okay. You think about the trauma these kids have now gone through, little kids. Weston, who's 10 years old in 5th grade, spoke to news outlets yesterday, a interview outside the school, in which this 10-year-old boy is being asked about the moment it all started.
It was like shots fired, and then we kind of got under the pews. It kind of, they shot through the stained glass windows, I think, and it was really scary.
What did you do after that?
Well, we waited 10 to 5 minutes, I don't really know, and then we went to the gym, and then the doors locked just to make sure he didn't come. And we waited in the gym for more news, and everyone was okay. Or most people were okay.
Yeah, and just kind of the headiness, the wherewithal of the kid in that moment at the end to say, well, most okay. Sort of that reality of his own comment dawning on him. But Weston got to safety, was eventually reunited with Mom.
My friend got hit in the back.
Did he go to the hospital?
Yeah, he went to the hospital.
What went through your mind when you saw that?
I was super scared for him, but I think now he's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get reunited with your parents?
Yeah, my mom was waiting outside of the church when it happened.
Yeah. And then what was it like seeing her?
I was super happy because, I was scared that I wasn't going to see her because I didn't know what was happening, really. I was just in shock.
It was a mass that was celebrating the first week of school, and the shots literally came in through the chapel's stained glass windows. But not only is Weston extremely brave and a hero in his own right, but his friend, as you heard there, Victor, literally laid his own life on the line. And we'll hear that story in a second here. WABC News Time, 5:27. WABC News Time, 5:29. And we've been hearing from this boy, Weston, a 10-year-old boy who survived the shooting. He spoke to TV cameras after the shooting in Minneapolis at a Catholic school and church. What we're talking about this morning, 2 people dead, 17 injured, some of them parishioners in their 80s, others just little kids. And overnight producer Matt Blaze telling me a different story. A neighbor who lives near the school sprinted to the location, hearing the gunshots ring out, found 2 girls who had been shot. He and another little boy tried to help keep them calm. Weston's friend, Victor, may have saved his friend's life and ended up shot in the back.
My friend got hit in the back.
Did he go to the hospital?
Yeah, he went to the hospital.
What went through your mind when you saw that?
I was super scared for him, but I think now he's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get reunited with your parents?
Yeah, my mom was waiting outside of the church when it happened.
Yeah.
And then
what was it like seeing her?
I was super happy because, I was scared that I wasn't going to see her because I didn't know what was happening, really. I was just in shock.
WABC News Time, 5:30. This is the 5 a.m. News Hour, and I'm James Flippin, filling in for Noam Laden. So more from this brave little boy, Weston, when we come back. We're also going to pivot off this story to talk transportation in Washington, D.C., and at Midtown Manhattan's Penn Station. There's a brand new Amtrak train, a new Acela train that's going to be rolled out. And could George Soros face racketeering charges? That and more on the 5 a.m. News Hour.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Good morning. James Flippin filling in for Noam Laden this week, who's on vacation. And I was just texting with him yesterday. He's having a very nice time with his family out on the left coast. And here in the tri-state area, we've got mostly clear skies this morning, Thursday, August 28th. Winds are calm. The temperature right now, 64 degrees in Midtown. Later today, mostly sunny, a high near 78. And then tomorrow, we're looking at a 20% chance of rain showers, mostly in the afternoon. Otherwise, mostly sunny, topping out near 80. Saturday's high, 77 WABC degrees. And then sunny skies. Sunday, sunny, topping out near 78. We're kicking off America's 250th birthday party with a big bash of our own Friday, September 5th, 77 WABC's annual gala in Midtown Manhattan, and we'd love for you to join us. You can get your tickets now at WABCRadioFoundation.org, benefiting a lot of great organizations, including Tunnel to Towers. And in just a few minutes, we will hear from Lee Greenwood of God Bless the USA fame, who's going to be one of the featured acts there during the gala. Our top story this morning, this heartbreaking story of yet another school shooting in Minneapolis at a Catholic school and church. 2 people dead, young kids, and then also 17 people injured, kids as well as worshipers there who were participating in morning mass. And we're hearing from this 10-year-old kid, Weston, who's just in 5th grade, having now survived a school shooting.
My friend Victor, saved me, though, because he laid on top of me, but he got hit.
Your friend laid on top of you?
Yeah, and he got hit.
Is this something that you've practiced before?
Yeah, we practice it, every month, or I don't know. But, yeah, we've never practiced it in the church, though. Mm-hmm. Only in school.
It's crazy. These active shooter drills are a fact of life for kids these days. Much like maybe some in our listening audience think of, getting into the fallout shelter, or you're supposed to hide under your desk if the bomb comes. And then for many, many more of us, it was just about fire drills and thinking about the worst in that respect, but definitely not thinking about some murderous mentally insane person who's in a adjoining building firing in high-caliber rounds. Again, in this case, Weston getting a chance to, thankfully for him, us, and family members, loved ones, talking about seeing his mom again, getting to hug mom.
Was your mom super happy to see you?
Yeah.
Give you a big hug?
Mm-hmm. What was that hug like?
I just felt like relieved, kind of.
Yeah.
I was very happy.
You're really brave, you know that?
Yeah.
Did you have any brothers and sisters there, or was it just you?
Oh, my brother's in the sophomore year of De La Salle. Mm-hmm. He used to go to Annunciation. Mm-hmm. He got out early because of it.
Imagine being that kid's brother and you're getting that call. A message from Weston for his friends.
He's really brave, and I hope he's good in the hospital.
And what do you want to say to everyone that had to go to the hospital?
I hope you're okay, and I'm praying for you.
I think that goes for everybody. WABC News Time coming up on 5:37. In just a second, we're going to talk about what the Trump administration has going on in Washington, D.C. with Union Station, also Penn Station, going to get a makeover. And then what about the ongoing enforcement of truck drivers being required to actually be able to speak and read English? WABC News Time, 5:39. James Flippin filling in for Noam Laden on the 5 a.m. News Hour. And we're going to pivot off our top story today, but murder, mental illness, survival, heartbreak, all of it. A nation lacking answers for school shootings. It's all rolled up in the latest out of Minneapolis. 2 kids shot dead, 17 injured. And the shooter, who was either possessed by a demon or mentally ill, dead by suicide. So let's change the topic a little bit. Let's talk a bit about transportation. And we'll talk trains here, as Amtrak is launching a new high-speed train. It's called the Next Gen Acela, and it can go as fast as 160 miles per hour, and that's 10 miles per hour faster than the current fleet, so that could mean shorter rides for customers. And, really, the truth is the difference between the American rail system and, let's say, the European rail system is when it happened and when it really got going. The United States rail system was kind of at the front end of that industrial revolution, right? Pushing out west, and in this case, in the tri-state, pushing out into little neighborhoods that had already started to take root. So there's a lot of winding curves and quick bends and strange movements of track and differences in grade, height, elevation, stuff like that. So you talk about the ability for trains to go fast. Well, they can't really do that when you don't have long, smooth aspects of track as they do in, let's say, Europe or also in like Japan. But they think that using this new technology, they can get the trains moving faster. Most of us saying, okay, we'll believe it when we see it. But the new train features are also kind of ones you might more easily understand. More legroom, improved Wi-Fi service, reading lights that are supposed to be brighter and make it a little easier to actually do stuff on your phone, computer, or reading a book. And the improved Wi-Fi service, that sounds pretty nice. Apparently, there's also something with the coating for the window or the glass that they're using in the window that makes it so that signal can actually get through more easily. 5 new trains will be running on the Northeast Corridor. That's the busiest and most profitable section for Amtrak, running from Washington, D.C. up to Boston. And they're going to roll out the new trains through 2027 as part of a modernization effort. And the Trump White House also moving to take over Union Station in Washington, D.C. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy making that announcement yesterday, saying that the station has fallen into a state of disrepair. Duffy said that they hope this will help make the city safer and more beautiful at a fraction of the cost by reclaiming management of the station. And just the latest move as President Trump looks to crack down on crime and other quality of life issues in Washington, D.C. So here's Transportation Secretary Duffy speaking with Fox Business.
DOT owns Union Station, and we've had a lot of partners that we've subleased to or we've leased to. We're going to take it back, and we're going to drive out the homelessness. We're going to drive out the crime, and we are going to, I think, bring in more retailers, I think more customers. It'll be better revenue. And again, this is our capital city. It should be beautiful. Yeah. And the president wants a beautiful capital. I want a beautiful capital. And so this plan is going to make Union Station represent the president's vision of what America can and should look like.
And here in New York City, there's Grand Central Terminal. There's also Penn Station, but certainly Grand Central, the prettier of the two major stations. It wasn't always that way, right? Back before the major change, and I guess it was the 60s or whatever, the Penn Station layout was a lot nicer and much more iconic, if you've seen those old photos with the sunlight coming through. But New York Penn Station is going to get a multi-billion-dollar makeover starting by the end of 2027, so says Trump White House officials. Here's Secretary Sean Duffy again. In this case, he was standing alongside, or this might actually be Andy Byford. Let's see. Andy Byford, you may remember, was Train Daddy back when he ran the New York City subway system. But officials say this is going to be a complete transformation, and it'll be more than just bricks and mortar. If this guy has a British accent, then it's Andy Byford.
It must be about making the station operationally sound, safe, clean, and easy to navigate. And I want in the future this station to ooze excellence.
Byford, the guy who was running the New York City subways, doing a pretty good job of it as well, but he clashed with Andrew Cuomo back when Cuomo was governor. Now, of course, he's trying to run for mayor, but Byford says it's well past time to overhaul Penn Station.
It's really important because New York's Penn Station is actually our number one station in our national network of over 500 stations. So literally, we can't wait any longer. Enough talking.
Yep, that's for sure. And a competition's being launched to hire a master builder by next May, with the federal government contributing $43 million to jumpstart the project. There's been no decision yet on whether Madison Square Garden, which sits atop Penn Station, will be moved, and that's something Sid Rosenberg is caring about as he thinks about hockey season and basketball season, of course, the Knicks and the Rangers, and playing their home games there. As to whether or not they could ever change the name of Penn Station, there was a question posed to Duffy. Somebody said, what about calling it Trump Station?
I think that has a nice ring to it, but listen, we're all working on building this project and getting it done. And if you want to have a conversation about name changes, that's a conversation that could happen at some other point.
All right, well, I guess we'll wait on that one. But 12 million riders do make their way through Penn Station every year. California, Washington, and New Mexico could be in line to lose millions of dollars in federal funding if they don't enforce English-speaking requirements for truck drivers. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy here again saying these states have 30 days to comply.
With truck drivers speaking proficiently the English language, or we're going to look at federal funding that they receive under the Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program.
And that move follows a deadly crash in Florida involving a foreign driver who either ignored or didn't understand the no U-turns allowed sign. All right, so on the sports desk now, WABC News Time, 5:45. We're going to get the latest from Justin Eller.
Thank you, James Flippin. Start on the diamond in the Bronx. Aaron Judge hit his 41st homer of the year in the third inning. Here's what that sounded like, courtesy of our buddy Ryan Rucco and Yes Network.
Judge hammers that into center field and deep. Young back, looking up, it's gone. Aaron Judge with home run number 41. And the Yankee lead is 3-0.
Yanks bashed again last night. The Judge homer, one of 6 Yankees home runs. McMahon, Bellinger, Grisham, and Wells and Rice also went deep for New York. Yanks beat up on the Nationals 11-2 to complete the 3-game sweep of Washington. Up next for the Yankees, now just a half game back of Boston for second place in the division and a game and a half up on Seattle for the AL second wild card. They'll hit the road with Will Warren tabbed to start in tonight's opener of a 4-game weekend set against the White Sox. First pitch from Chicago is scheduled for 7:40 p.m. In Queens, Noel McLean became the first Mets pitcher to win his first 3 Major League starts, tossing 8 magnificent innings in a 6-0 victory over the Phillies. That completed a 3-game sweep. Mark Vientos homered and drove in 3 runs as the resurgent Mets moved within 4 games of first-place Philadelphia in the NL East. Vientos' 2-run shot capped the scoring for the Mets. They improved to 7-2 against the rival Phillies this year, clinching the season series and a potential postseason tiebreaker. The teams play a 4-game set in Philadelphia from September 8th to 11th. New York holds a 4.5-game lead over Cincinnati for the final NL wild card. The 24-year-old right-hander McLean allowed 4 hits and walked none with 6 strikeouts, throwing 95 pitches and lowering his ERA to .89. He retired 15 straight batters following Alec Bohm's second-inning single and faced a minimum until Bryce Harper's 2-out single in the 7th. Lindor, Soto, and Alonso had consecutive RBI singles in the 3rd before Vientos added an RBI single in the 5th and that 2-run homer in the 7th. Brandon Nimmo had 3 of New York's 12 hits. Up next for the Mets, Clay Holmes will get the start in tonight's opener of a 4-game weekend set against the visiting Miami Marlins. First pitch from Queens is scheduled for 7:10 p.m. And we'll end on the, what is it, clay, or do they play on a hard tennis court? At
U.S. Open, it's a hard court.
Okay, back to the hard court. How about that? At Flushing Meadows, James Philip.
Now you got to pronounce all those names.
Yeah. Most of them are American, so it should be rather easy. American Jessica Pegula, last year's U.S. Open runner-up, needed just over an hour to get past Anna Blenkova, 6-1, 6-3, advancing to the 3rd round for a 6th consecutive year. In the night session, top-seeded Aryna Sabalenka rolled into the 3rd round, easily defeating Polina Kudermetova, 7-6, 6-2. Joining Pegula and Sabalenka in advancing to the 2nd round was 10th seed American Emma Navarro, who defeated Katie McNally, 6-2, 6-1, in an All-American matchup on the grandstand. And tonight, Coco Gauff, our 3-seeded American there on the women's side. She'll get her round 2 match underway at 7 p.m. against Donna Vekic. That is your sports, James. I'm Justin Alec on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time, 5:51. Less than 10 minutes away from Sid and Friends in the Morning with Sid Rosenberg. Let me tell you this as well. Coming up Friday, September 5th, it'll be 77 WABC's Gala in Midtown Manhattan. We're going to kick off the 250th anniversary of America and celebrate 77 WABC being number 1 in the country and the world. There will be special performances from Lee Greenwood of God Bless the USA fame.
And I'm proud to be an American.
He'll be our featured guest. He's going to be performing. We asked him what it means to be part of a celebration honoring America's 250th birthday.
To celebrate with WABC, which is the 100,000-watt station out of New York, not only is it a privilege, but I know the Castaminis very well. I'm just so excited to be in New York with them and to kick off this beginning of what will be our 250-year anniversary of the United States of America.
Other guests include Christopher Macchio, Tony Orlando, Cousin Brucey, Joe Piscopo, and Vinny Medugno. There are a limited amount of tickets available. Go to WABCRadioFoundation.org to get your tickets for the 77 WABC Annual Gala. Always a great night. This will be Friday, September 5th, so it's coming up soon. Get your tickets at WABCRadioFoundation.org. President Trump is calling for federal racketeering charges against billionaire Democratic donor George Soros.
The president wrote on social media Wednesday that Soros and his radical left son should be charged with RICO because of what he called their support of violent protests. Trump claimed that Soros and his group of psychopaths have caused great damage to our country and added, "Be careful, we're watching you." The Soros nonprofit foundation called Trump's claim outrageous and said their mission is to advance human rights, justice, and democratic principles. The Justice Department has not commented on Trump's threats. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Yeah, so believe it or not, that closes out our top 5 headlines as we spent so much time, sadly, on what's the story dominating everybody's thoughts and minds right now with this latest school shooting out in Minneapolis. 2 dead, 17 injured, and then the shooter committed suicide. But a busy day yesterday for the Trump White House. Other than that, RFK Jr. talking about changing up how doctors are educated. The health secretary noting there are 1.1 million physicians in the U.S., but he wants them to be thinking differently in terms of nutrition.
I'm leading a team at HHS with the support of Secretary McMahon at the Department of Education that targets a situation that everyone has long recognized as wrong, but no one has yet had the gumption to fix. It's the woeful lack of nutrition education in medicine.
Yeah, and basically what RFK Jr. is talking about here is there's a lot of different illnesses, diabetes, other illnesses, chronic inflammation, that may be connected to bad diet and just eating too many processed foods, not enough fiber, not enough things that don't have refined sugar in it, or not enough raw vegetables and fruits. So RFK Jr. says you need to be thinking not just about drugs as a physician, but prescribing other things.
In the future, doctors won't just prescribe drugs. They'll be able to prescribe diets as well. By confidently screening for diet-related diseases and collaborating with nutrition experts, to recommend food-based solutions.
Also, the new CDC director has been fired just weeks after being confirmed. Susan Monterez, no longer the CDC's director, and that report is that she was clashing with RFK Jr. over COVID vaccine guidelines. By the way, the FDA is expected to approve an updated COVID-19 vaccine, but only for seniors 65 and up and people with underlying health conditions. There are ongoing concerns about the impact on younger people and potentially cardiovascular concerns when it comes to the vaccine. And then this also for the Trump White House, Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, talking about a crackdown on the use of Chinese workers in terms of cloud computing in DoD contracts, cloud operations, and things that obviously have national security implications.
For nearly a decade, Microsoft has used Chinese coders, remotely supervised by U.S. contractors, to support sensitive DoD cloud systems. The program was designed to comply with contracting rules, but it exposed the department to unacceptable risk. I mean, if you're thinking America first and common sense, this doesn't pass either of those tests.
UFC fighter Rampage Jackson's son, Rajah Jackson, went viral this past weekend, and not for a good reason. He was seen beating a pro wrestler who had already fallen unconscious, and this guy, Rajah Jackson, just throwing haymakers while this guy, Psycho Stu, was unconscious on the mat. Well, Psycho Stu now has regained consciousness in the hospital. He's alert and awake. A video, or a photo, I should say, posted on social media of him in a hospital bed with friends and family. Not immediately clear what's going to happen with Rajah Jackson in terms of potential legal action. Nassau County is launching what it's calling the first-in-the-nation technology for police response there on Long Island.
With school starting soon, the new technology will help police respond more quickly to school shootings and other incidents. County Executive Bruce Blakeman.
Our number one job, especially with the start of the school season, which starts this week, is to protect our kids and to make sure that they're safe.
The county has also assembled a new strategic response team made up of 40 police officers. Nassau Police Commissioner Patrick Ryder.
The last thing we want is kids reporting from inside a school what's going on.
The team will be assisted by 100 new license plate cameras throughout the county. Lisa Ritchie, 77 WABC News.
We've been talking a little bit of health here. A study shows about 2/3 of women in their childbearing years have an increased risk for birth defects because of a lifestyle they have the ability to change. Researchers looked at data of about 5,400 younger women between 2007 and 2020. It shows 66% had things like diabetes, tobacco smoke exposure, obesity, food security as risk factors. And the oldest son of the late Michael Jackson's engaged to be married. Prince Jackson announcing on Instagram this week he's engaged to his partner, Molly Shermang. WABC News Time, 5:59 on this Thursday morning, August 28th. And we're going to get the preview now from executive producer Justin Ellick as to what's coming up on Sit-In Friends in the Morning.
Thank you, James Flippin, kicking us off here.
Give him Peppa.
In the way of guess. It'll be Janine Aquafreda hopping on the program, writing for Brooklyn Borough President. So she'll be hopping on right around 6:45 this morning. In the 7 a.m. hour, Paul Morrow, former FBI, will go over this tragic shooting yesterday out in Minneapolis right before Charlie Gasparino hops on the program to help us wrap out the 7 a.m. hour. He's got all you need to know on Go Woke, Go Broke, the latest edition here, Cracker Barrel. Right before the 8 a.m. hour hits, it's a big one today. Tom Homan, the border czar, he'll be rejoining the program. Been a bit since we've had Tom on, so excited to get the border czar back on with Sid right before the great New York Post columnist Miranda Devine helps us wrap out that hour, and maybe a surprise or two coming along the way in the 9 a.m. hour. James Flippin. It's all coming up. Sit-In Friends in the Morning on a Thursday morning. Coming at you in just a few short moments.
Thank you, Justin. James Flippin in here for Noam Laden this week on the 5 a.m. News Hour. So Minneapolis, a city in mourning today following yesterday's deadly shooting. 2 children, ages 8 and 10, killed, 17 others wounded, and the FBI is investigating the shooting as an act of domestic terrorism, a hate crime targeting Catholics. Also, the transgender aspect of it, something that's going to come into focus in coming days for sure, something we're following closely here in the newsroom. James Flippin, in for Noam Laden on this edition of the 5 a.m. News Hour.
Real New York, 77 WABC.